Hire for attitude, train for skill. It's something that I have preached a long time, and I'm learning what that looks like both in my personal life and professional life. And I'm guessing there's something you can learn from it too. Do you have a not so perfect life? I mean, we may look like we have it all together, but the truth is we all have stuff. Unbroken provides a brave space where we women can take off the mask, share our secret struggles, and our secrets to success. Unbroken, doing life better together. There's a saying that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Hi, I'm Janeé. I'm an entrepreneur, television producer and host, wife, mom, and woman of faith. And joining me today is my cohort in crime, Galen. Hi, Galen.
Hi. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Galen, I say cohort in crime. She does play a couple of different roles. She is our head of strategy. She is also producer on Unbroken with Janeé. And to me, she is the epitome of surrounding yourself with people you trust. Now, I will tell you more about that in a second. But first, Galen, y'all were going to do a podcast while I was on vacation, unplugging with my family. And yet, if you've been listening for a while, you will know that there's not been a podcast. What happened?
I will say we had a variety of, you mentioned a few of the hats that I wear. So I had a few of the hats, was switching them out. And I feel like there was maybe some commotion in the closet, ladies. I'm sure that you can understand when you just can't find that sweater that you're looking for, and it's freezing outside and you just need it. So, of all the things, we knew how you wanted to prioritize, and I'm sorry, listeners, that we had to adjust a couple of things to make sure that we delivered on the top ones. So we're here today. Thanks for your patience.
We are, and we certainly learned a lot through this. And I want to go back to today's topic about surrounding yourself with people you trust, hiring for attitude, training for skill. So right now, we are building a brave, supportive community for women who want to take action and make change happen. And it's huge. And some of it is launching in August. Some of it will launch a little bit later. But realizing that this thing that we're building, it's way bigger than me. And so if ever I have needed to practice what I preach about hiring for attitude, train for skill, it is now. Galen, in terms of our culture, how would you describe the attitude of the folks we bring on?
Absolutely. The biggest piece is, who are you? What's important to you? And we go from there, because you learn a lot asking about a person. What are they enjoying? What hobbies do they have? What really lights them up? Because to your point, pretty much any skill can be taught, but it's that attitude, that go-getter, and you find that just getting to know someone. There's not one right way or wrong way, but when you're building a culture, it's intentional. And so, at least for us, it's very intentional on being able to prioritize, be open, be vulnerable, be transparent, stand in the authority that we have and the role that we're stepping into, to be able to decide what needs to happen and what doesn't. So, just because you don't fit in one culture doesn't mean that you're not perfect and that you don't fit somewhere.
Right.
You just have to find your right culture where you feel like you can be whoever you are, because you'll shine brighter wherever that is.
Yeah. And Galen, I think it's interesting that you mentioned being open and being vulnerable, even in a work culture. What does that mean to you? And why do you think it's important?
For me, I'm old. So, well, I not to be weird
She's
about it,
not
but
really old.
I feel like I have a lot of experiences. We'll go with that.
A
And
lot of
so
wisdom to give, Galen.
thank you, Jay. I will take that, judge. Rules accepted. Um, I just feel like I've walked a lot of paths. I've stepped into a lot of different roles. I've worked with a lot of people. I've walked that line. And we've talked about it. Some of the ladies that have come alongside us, and then in my other relationships where you are one person at work, then you're a different person at
Yep.
home, then you're a different person when you go to the PTA. I found that I'm one human, just the one, and I'm a culmination of all of those things. And I need to be able to step into and out of, and I'm I'm an empath, and so being vulnerable, being able to be open about what's going on in my world is very important to me. I think for us and for me, it makes my relationship stronger because I know that I can show up and we'll lock arms and we'll stand together and we'll stand in prayer, or we'll show up for each other. Hey, you need me to drive you somewhere because we don't know what's going on, or you need to have a conversation with a friend that's hard. I've been that middleman for my friends too. So I just think it's important to have that trusted person, and you can't have that until you are open with who you are.
Yeah. And as we're talking about hiring someone that you trust, that has the right attitude and is good, just that good fit, um, I think trust is a huge thing that plays out on multiple sides. And it's hard to trust others unless you're trustworthy yourself. And I'm speaking from experience here. There was a time that I used my gift of performing to pretend to be someone I wasn't. That was an unhealthy use of our gift. I think we've all done something, maybe not that, but we've probably all had some unhealthy uses of our God given gifts and strengths. And for me, now I'm just in a much different space in that I want to come from a place of truth, and that just infiltrates all of my dealings. And what I am finding in the business world is the more transparent and authentic I can show up, the more it gives people permission to do the same. And I wasn't schooled that way. I was schooled that you sell it, the Dale Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people. For me, how to win friends and influence people is different than how to just be kind and see people. And that is something Galen referenced it earlier about shining light. When you're in media, we have a desire to shine big lights, not on ourselves, on the people around us who are doing fantastic things. And so it's just been a very interesting journey. And it's also one of finding the nice to haves versus the need to haves. What are those things we have to have? Today, Galen and I knew we had to do a podcast, and the studio is out of AC. So here we go, right? I mean, here we are. It's all good. And it is a work in progress. We all are. And so, what would life look like if we could just take off the mask, show up, and say, hey, folks, here's what happened the last 2 weeks while I was on vacation. We're still here. We've learned from it. And even now, more than ever, I'm reminded that I need to surround myself with great people and let them do their thing. Galen, what have you noticed about our culture? You mentioned vulnerability, authenticity. What else do you notice that may be different?
I think that we have a true, really strong set of leaders, and it starts at the top. It starts with you, the way you lead, the way you engage with us. You take supreme responsibility. There must be a miscommunication. There must be a breakdown. We get on the same page, and it's not from a place of judgment. It's from a place of truly, where are you? Where am I? How do we get together? And how do we move forward? And giving that space for whatever might be going on. I think that each of the people on the team can speak to this as well. We speak of each other's families, pets, kids, all the things. And so it just it makes for a different dynamic where you can truly relax, and then your light can be even brighter to come through. What do you think is the best part about the transparency and the full team? Because this is the biggest team I think you've had. Is that correct?
Probably the biggest team that I've had, because what we're doing now, we have a for profit and a not for profit. I've always had both entities, or not always, but since 2017 when I started my nonprofit. But it has just been me on the nonprofit side for a long time. So now expanding that circle and that reach so that we can help more women and girls and eventually roll out across the globe, bringing on new people, it can be scary. And I think that is why it is crucial to find people that you trust 150%. Because when you trust your team, I have found, like Galen said, I don't come from a place of criticism and condemnation. At least I hope not. When I am asking questions, it really is from a place of curiosity. What happened? How can I help you? And I think by assuming the best, because I know I'm working with dynamos, it just feeds this culture of wanting to do better. And some of you may be thinking, I'm not a leader, or I don't have a business. How is this applicable to me? Ladies, we create a culture in our homes. We create a culture in our friendships. For me, it's super important to see people. I think that's why Galen and I get along so well. I mean, her mission is to like shine light. I mean, she lives to see people daily. And so knowing that I have a cohort and a co-worker that shares my heart for that, it is so beautiful. And I think about what would my friendships look like if I was super intentional about building a squad that's just women who care about each other. And we're getting there. I am very thankful. I've got a large squad of women who want to shine light on others. It's not about themselves. So I don't think I answered your question, but I do think that there's maybe some value in us each thinking about creating a culture, whether it's in your home, whether it's in your friendship, whether it's in your organization. And so, how do you do that? The first thing I would say, like Galen just referenced, you have to lead by example. I am not perfect. And so, I'm not here to say, put Janeé on the pedestal. I am saying I'm a gal who's learned lots of lessons from doing things the hard way and the wrong way. And so, I'm trying to do differently. When we know better, we do better. So, number one, lead by example. Number two, hire for attitude, train for skill. And I mean that even in our friendships. Now, unfortunately, we can't hire our kids or our spouses, significant others, but how can we assume the best in them? Give them the benefit of the doubt. And the third thing I would say is, when you've got good people around you, trust them. You're assuming the best in them. Be in the present. The present truly is the gift. And I have found so often that for me, when I am at what was or what if, I miss the gift of what is. And I probably begin to second guess my team, myself, all the things. Galen, what would you add to that?
That ongoing presence, like you said, that number three, intentionally for 1 and 2, but that number 3 every single day. Because I checked in on you today doesn't mean that I don't check in on you tomorrow. Because there could be a lot of things that happen between now and then. And then for me, one of the lessons, I only have one to add to your 3, which I know 3 is all we can remember, for me anyway, is check in on yourself. I was walking out my purpose for a hot minute when someone said, are you applying that to yourself? And so my mindset, my self-talk, and the culture that I created in my own head was impacting those cultures around me. So just being aware of what those things are. So just that presence, like you're saying, and check in.
And I love that you brought up being aware of what culture you're setting for yourself. I know that for me at this phase in my life, I want to surround myself with people who help me be a better version of me and they like me. And that may sound so
Right?
basic, but in our culture, myself included, how many times have I spent thinking about, worrying about the one person who has a negative comment on social media instead of honoring and leaning into the ones who they like me, they trust me, they know me. And so surround yourself, watch yourself talk. Excellent point, Galen. And surround yourself with people who like you and show them that you like them back. I think oftentimes when we are dynamos, when we can be independent, that doesn't mean that we should. And I think that for each of us, it's about thinking through what are those low maintenance relationships that need a check in? Because oftentimes it's the higher maintenance relationships that are getting our time and attention. And we don't want to lose those that are the consistent anchors along the way. Speaking of consistency, you're going to get more consistency from us as we have an awesome gal who's coming on board for social media and to help with the podcast. So you can expect that soon, consistency and really good content. So hang in there with us. We appreciate you. And we would love to know if you've gotten one nugget from this, shout it out at Real Janeé Hill and also at the Unbroken Squad. Thanks for tuning